Welcome back to the Shacknews Awards. We are giving out the award for the best co-op game of the year 2024. So to be eligible for this category, you have to have a game that features cooperative multiplayer gameplay, either local or online, and you had to have shipped this year in 1.0. That's it. That's all you need to do. That's how you end up here. Here are the nominees, and then we'll get to talking about them, and then we'll get to voting. Helldivers 2, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Splintered Fate, Warhammer 40k, Space Marine 2, Contra, Operation Galuga, and last but not least, Inkbound. So Donovan, you said you wanted to talk about Helldivers 2. How is this as a co-op game, would you say?
A great co-op game. We streamed it at least a couple times here on the Shacknews Twitch channel. I remember Danny and I did a stream that was a lot of fun, like the week it came out. A lot of times in co-op games, when they have friendly fire, it ends up just being more annoying than anything. But there's something really, really funny about Helldivers 2 friendly fire when you call in like an orbital strike to kill whatever like massive Godzilla creature is chasing you. And you just blow like two of your friends up in the process, and their limbs just go flying in every which way. Because it kind of forces you to strategize.
Like a supply drop by accident too.
You can also straight up kill them with like an ammo crate, but it kind of forces you to like communicate and strategize like you're on an actual battlefield, because you have to say like, hey, I'm calling in this on this location, like get out the way or run. But it's fun. It's great. I enjoy it. I love, as a co-op game, it just, you have to work together in a very unique way. Even Sam mentioned it in another category where you're like typing in the keypad codes to call in items or to shut down computers and stuff. It's a good time, and it's a game that's like very, very difficult, especially when you play alone, and even when you play with friends. So you kind of need the co-op aspect to realistically get through that game.
And even like on a broader sense, like they made this whole like narrative about how you're all working together for a common goal, and it's like this patriotic duty when you're playing the game, right? And I think that spills over into co-op chatter and stuff. I agree, though. This game is not nearly as fun when you're playing by yourself and you're just single queuing into things. But if you have a group of, was it 3 friends or whatever, 4?
It's 4.
Yeah. Haven't had as much fun playing a co-op game since like Deep Rock Galactic. I think that's the highest praise I could give this. Is that it's like right up there. And they've screwed up all sorts of places with policies they've implemented and all that stuff. But ignoring that, the co-op gameplay is absolutely fun. Sorry, Danny, you were about to say something?
I just have agree with everything that's been said on that end. You know, the actual co-op aspect has been on point. You know, a lot of fun and unpredictable in certain ways that make it, you know, dynamic and fun to watch as well. So,
yeah, definitely was a good streaming game, especially earlier in the year. I feel like the decision to make PlayStation Online a requirement and how that affected like 60 different countries that the game launched in, like all that was bad. But the actual game, when you sit down and you're playing it, and the balance of the weapons and the levels and the different enemies, like all that's great. And yeah, I killed Sam Chandler probably like 50 times this year by accident. I would just accidentally hit the grenade button, and then yeah, I would run away. Sam wouldn't. I guess he didn't know. Anyway, you're right though, Diamond. Friendly fire is usually annoying in shooter games, and this one it's like cause of a lot of hilarity.
Yeah. Yeah. It wouldn't be the same without it.
So TMNT Splintered Fate, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm really struggling to keep track of which TMNT game I'm talking about at this point, but this is it's like a Hades.
This is the Hades-like.
It's it's also multiplayer.
Yeah, they added 4-player online multiplayer to a Turtles roguelike. And I think giving a co-op to like giving co-op to a game like this is really interesting. It plays really well, and it lets you progress in a different way and progress slightly faster. I think it plays pretty well as a co-op game, but yeah, I love the novelty of it for sure.
Interesting. Yeah, I guess the unique part of it is it's a multiplayer roguelike. I don't know how many of those we actually have. But leave it to Turtles they'll absorb any genre and make it into a game. We're getting a tactical Turtles game. It's like XCOM but with the Ninja Turtles. So anything's possible here. Yeah, solid nomination. Greg, we talked about this in, I believe, the multiplayer category, but Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2 has excellent co-op gameplay, right?
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, like you either go through the missions. There's also a wave-based mode coming. I'm not sure if it's in the game quite yet, but there is a wave-based mode coming. The different classes. There's no friendly fire in that game, so you can kind of go crazy. But it's about fulfilling that power fantasy of being a space marine in a squad, killing aliens or demons, and it does it very well.
Nice. It's not surprising to me that Contra ended up on this list, Ozzy, as it may have been like, I don't know, one of the first co-op games ever.
I mean, back in the day, you used to be able to play the OG Contra 2 players. I know Steve's played it on his show a couple times. But Operation Galuga lets you play up to 4 players in arcade mode. And the modern Contra letting you play like up to 4 players and try and take down some of these enemies, like, man, it scratches that old school itch in like the best kind of way.
Yeah, for a long time, I think Contra was like, it was like the gold standard of a co-op game, at least in the 80s.
It doesn't really change anything from what it's done in the past, but like it still works. It's a timeless formula.
Sometimes you don't have to change the formula. And yeah, going back to Galuga the way they did, I'm just happy that we got a good Contra game and that Konami remembered, hey, we have great IP that we could just give to other studios to make good games out of. And was this way forward, Ozzy?
Yes, it is. This is still like something I like to call probably the best 7 I've played all year. And, you know, gaming needs more good 7s. Like it doesn't have to be like the best or even a great game, but like this is very good at what it does.
Yeah. Instead of spending like $500 million developing a game that gets a 6, you know, maybe spend 20 million and get a 7. Either way. Who can talk about Inkbound here?
I reviewed Inkbound, and Inkbound is a fun little roguelike that puts you in a storybook world, and it likes to cross the formula of Hades with more like a turn-based tactics kind of thing. Like you plan your moves, you plan your attacks, and then you take turns hitting between you and your enemies. And there's a co-op aspect of this that I think is actually a lot of fun. I went into some of the harder realms and I solo queued it and I got matched up with some pretty powerful builds. And basically I let them do the heavy lifting and I'm just like, okay, I have like nothing, but I'm going to do what I can. I'm going to debuff these enemies and I'm going to give my partners a chance. So I went in, I debuffed, and I wound up winning some battles that I had absolutely no right to win. So like Inkbound is a co-op game I think is pretty fun. You don't even necessarily have to do it with your friends. You can solo queue and have a good time. But yeah, Inkbound went 1.0 this year, and I like it for what it is. I think it's a very interesting take on the Hades style roguelike.
It's interesting that we're seeing like 2 like multiplayer co-op roguelikes in the same year. I know Inkbound had been in development for a bit, but like it's just interesting. It seems like a nascent genre that's like probably got a lot of legs to it, considering how popular roguelikes have been. Being able to play together with friends online, I think, is a huge deal. And yeah, that art style is really unique.
They wanted it to be like storybook kind of aesthetic, and I think they pulled that off very well.
Yeah, and even like the cutscenes look nice. Yeah, interesting. Well, this is a pretty diverse list of co-op games that came out this year, you guys. All these nominees deserve the nominations, and you should check them out. If you're on the fence, they're all pretty solid. Like Ozzy said, one of the best 7s he's ever played.
Box quote if there ever was one.
It's all right.
We are like the saddest.
It's all right.
The saddest box quotes ever here at Shacknews. I'm gonna start with you, Greg.
You know, I'm like what I was thinking. Yeah, I like what I'm seeing in Inkbound, but I'm gonna have to go with Space Marine 2. I gotta show that game more love. I feel like it hasn't got enough love in the awards category. It's been nominated.
I mean, it's been nominated in several categories.
It has been.
It may not have had any big wins, but you know, only time will tell, Greg. TJ.
There
he is.
Good day, mate. Of all these games that I've the game here that I would want to play with someone else the most is definitely Space Marine 2. Like that seems like you could definitely have fun by yourself, but that also seems like Gears of War days, man. Getting together with your buds and just destroying everything that moves in front of you. And that is exactly what Space Marine 2 embodies when I look at it.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Ozzy.
I love the potential for chaos too much in Helldivers 2, so I'm going to go Helldivers 2.
A worthy vote here. Bill?
Helldivers 2.
Sam, welcome to the deliberations, buddy. How you doing?
Thank you so much. Thank you. Doing well. Best co-op game? Mate.
Yeah.
Helldivers 2.
See?
I'd agree. Yeah.
He said mate, and then he said the game. I did an impersonation of you earlier that was spot on, is all I'm saying.
I'm so keen to
He
hear
also
that.
showed up in the second half, which I
He
predicted.
did. Bill predicted this.
Yep,
I was making an impassioned case for the finals, and all I basically said was, mate, the finals, mate.
Yeah, brilliant. That's great. That's exactly what I would have said.
Thank
Right, the finals. Come on.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm glad I was on point then.
Hell yeah.
So Sam's reverse. Steve.
I'm gonna go with Helldivers 2.
Nice. David.
Space Marine 2.
Seems like we have a 2-horse race here.
Oh, sweet.
Donovan.
Helldivers 2.
Okay. Denny.
Definitely going with Helldivers 2 on this one.
Yeah. Let's see. Space Marine. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, my vote doesn't matter. Yeah, I'm gonna vote for Helldivers 2. Ignoring the mistakes they made with policy changes about PlayStation Online requirements and stuff, it's the most fun I had playing co-op this year. And it's not to take Space Marine 2 down a peg or anything, but like Space Marine 2 looks like a different era in gaming where like Helldivers 2 is visually stunning. I just think it has a little bit higher graphical fidelity, and
Really?
its
That's
gameplay
interesting.
loop feels a bit newer.
That's interesting. Because I think Space Marine is the
Full play co-op as
prettier
well.
game with all the models and the textures and everything that's going on. There's a lot
Well,
of
like you're a
open-
40K fan, so you probably see more details than I do looking at the character.
Well,
models,
there's
right?
skyboxes, like that kind of stuff. Like I feel like because there has to be in Helldivers, there's so much empty space everywhere because you need room to move. But like there's just this vast like barren desert of like a planet with like maybe some trees and then like a fort in the middle. Like I don't know.
I think you're wrong. There's a lot of elevation change in Helldivers 2. It just depends on what part of the planet you're landing on, I think. But like I thought there was a decent amount of diverse biomes in Helldivers 2. And also depending on what mission you're doing, some of them will bring you some really interesting locations on whatever planet. You're right, they're different. I think they're different in that Space Marine 2 is like these contained environments that are impressive, but for me, like I said, it just boils down to like I didn't play Helldivers 1 at all. I didn't really care for the franchise or know much about it. And then I came in there and I was like, oh wow, Helldivers 2 is right up my alley. Both these games are great. But anyway, there can only be one best co-op game of the year 2024 here at the Shacknews Awards, and it is Helldivers 2.
Join the Helldivers, the galaxy's last line of offense.